was once a master who lived by the riverside. And one day, a young man came to him and said, "Master, I want you to be my guru. I want you to teach me the truth." The master didn't say anything, but he took the young man by the hand and he led him into the river. And when they came into the center of the river, then he pushed the man under the water and held him there. And the young man, he couldn't breathe. And in the end, he pushed himself up. And then the master spoke and he said, "When you want to know the truth as much as you wanted the air, then come to me and I will teach you." We need to want to know the truth with a passion. The truth about life. Why are we living? What is life all about? What is the cause of the universe? Is there any meaning to the whole universe and life itself? When we have a passion to know this, then we are open to the truth. Someone once quipped, "There are no atheists in foxholes," when the bombs are dropping on all sides. Well, that may be true. It may not be true. But what is true that in the past, human beings, feeling the frailty and their own weakness in the face of the caprices of nature, sicknesses, wars, and so on, they would turn to their deity and make sacrifices, offer gifts, hoping for help. If they got sick, they would turn to their God and they would pray. And they would offer sacrifices for healing, because they realized how weak they were and that they could not solve their problems. But things have changed, haven't they? Because now science and technology have advanced. We now know the reason why things happen, at least to a great extent. There are still areas which we don't know. There are still grey areas which are doubtful. But we have made great advances. We now understand the caprices of nature, why the thunder and lightning, why the tsunamis, why the earthquakes. And we know why there are plagues and sicknesses. Things which in the past would cause certain death. Now, because we have mastered the universe to a great extent, through antibiotics, we can cure so many diseases. In the past, people, even great emperors, would catch fever, and in a few days would be dead. And that not long ago, maybe 100, 150 years ago. But now, the same sickness comes, with some injections, we're better again. And we have made so many advances, so much so that if we have a good income, then, we can manage quite well without God. We don't need God. It may be nice to know that there is a God, but He is a convenience. He's not a necessity. I can enjoy my life, and if I get sick, I can get healed and cured. Nowadays, if I get sick, I don't go to some priest or to some temple. I go to a doctor or to a hospital, and there I get better. Of course, there are terminal sicknesses which medical science has not yet been able to conquer. But we hope, and let us say we know, that one day they also will be overcome. And so, really, we can manage. Of course, if we get a terminal sickness which the doctors cannot cure, and anyway death will come, then we realize how frail and weak we are. But until that time, we can manage quite well. Of course, in the 19th century, Karl Marx scathingly said, religion, and that I suppose means God, is the opium of the people. They were suffering, and they were suffering injustice, but God will care for you in the next life. You will have pie in the sky when you die. Well, that also may be true. But is that the reason why we are religious? Is religion just a way of coping with our own weaknesses, with our own frailty? Is religion just a way to, as it were, reduce the pain of injustice that we suffer? Or is religion something based upon the fact that God, that there is a being who is the cause and is responsible for this universe which we experience? All we experience is this universe. We don't experience anything else. And this universe is made of matter. Science doesn't tell us whether there is a God or not. It is said that Nikita Khrushchev, one time giving a speech, said, "We sent our astronaut into space and he looked everywhere and he didn't find God." We won't find God in this universe because God is not part of this universe. The God that we talk about, the being who is responsible for this universe, is not part of it, because if he is part of it, he's part of the question and part of the problem. He is responsible for it. Why is there a universe? Science will ask, how does this universe work? What is the cause of this thing which I experience now? What is the cause of this sickness? How can I understand the world which I see and experience? And how can I use it for a better life? Whereas philosophy will ask, why is there a universe? Why is the question that philosophy asks. There has to be a being who is being itself. Because unless there is a being who is being itself, who exists because it must exist, then there can't be anything existing at all, because nothing can come from nothing. If there was nothing existing, there would be no questions. But there is this world existing. And this asks questions. Where have we come from? Where has the world come from? What is the cause of the world? And we must therefore say that there is a being who exists because he is existence. And he is not part of the world, he is the cause of the world. This is not religion yet. This is still rational thinking. But any kind of religion has to be based upon reason, cannot go against reason. The Judaic religion, the religion of the Jews, claims that this supreme being has revealed himself slowly to us, telling us about himself. Let us take a break now. Welcome back. So the Judaic religion claims that this being, who is the cause of the whole universe, has revealed himself. In the Bible, which is the book of the Jews originally, there's a story about a man called Moses. Now, Moses was a Hebrew born in Egypt when the Hebrews were slaves there to the Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And the Hebrews were growing in numbers, and the Pharaoh passed the law that all male Hebrews should be thrown into the river Nile as soon as they were born. Moses was born, and his mother decided to make a wicker basket covered with tar, and in this she put her baby and she floated it on the river Nile. And as it floated down the Nile River, it got caught in the reeds. And one day, the sister of the Pharaoh, with her maidservants, came to bathe in the river, and the princess saw this wicker basket, and taking it, she opened it, and she saw this baby there, very beautiful child. And since she was a widow and had no children, she decided to adopt this child, although it was a Hebrew slave. And she called him Moses. And Moses grew up in the household of the Pharaoh. And he became a prince. But then he never lost connection with his roots. And one day, as a prince, he went out and he saw an Egyptian beating one of the Hebrew slaves. Moses was overcome with anger, and he took the Egyptian, beat him, and he killed him. And then, to hide the whole matter, he hid this body, the body of this Egyptian, in the sand. And he thought that was the end of the matter. Next day he went out again, and there he saw two Hebrews fighting. And he said to them, "You are brothers, why are you fighting?" And one of them says, "Oh, so you're going to kill me as you killed the Egyptian yesterday." Immediately Moses realized that the truth was out. And if Pharaoh came to know, then he would execute him. And so Moses fled Egypt. He wandered in the desert, and then he came across a family there by an oasis, and he stayed with them. And he marries the eldest daughter of this man there. Her name was Zipporah. And he settles down in the desert and becomes a shepherd. And one day, as he's minding the sheep, he sees this burning bush in the distance. The bush is burning, but it's not burning out. And he goes on. And so he goes there to investigate and see what's happening. And as he goes closer, he hears, "Moses, Moses, take off your shoes, you are on holy ground." And God speaks to him from this bush. He says, "I have seen the suffering of my people in Egypt, and I want to send you back there to bring my people out." Well, the last thing that Moses wants to do is to go to Egypt. He has fled from there. But God insists, and Moses makes many excuses, but God continually tells him, "No, you must go." And then Moses says, "God has sent me. They will ask me, 'What is the name of your God?' What is your name? What name can I give them?" And God says, "Tell them, I am the one who is." Moses was asking, "What name must I tell them? What God are you? Are you the God of the sky? Are you the God of the mountains? Are you the God of the seas? Are you the God of fire? What God are you?" And God says, "I am who I am. I am the God. I am the one who is." In other words, I am existence. I have no name. I am. And this is the God of the Jews, and this is the God of the Christian. He is the God who is. He is the fullness of existence, and He is the cause of the whole universe. And through the prophets, who were holy men who spent time praying, spent time reflecting and thinking and listening, God, this being who is the supreme being, revealed Himself to them slowly. And we read in the Scriptures, "The Lord is merciful and gracious. The Lord is slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. For as the heavens are high above the earth, so great is His steadfast love. As a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on His children. For He knows of what we are made. He remembers that we are dust. how are we to know this Supreme Being? We can sit down and think, we can philosophize, we can ponder rationally about the nature of the universe, and that the universe needs a cause, and that this cause is transcendent, is beyond the universe, totally different, totally other. But he's still an impersonal being. We need to meet this being. If we want to know whether this being is existing or not, we have to turn to this being in prayer. There is no other way. Philosophically and thinking rationally, we will never come to know this being. He will always be an object of our thought, or he will always be something we doubt about, or something we deny. We have to turn to him in prayer. And we turn to him as we are. We don't pretend to be something different. We come with our doubts and with our hesitation, with sincerity and with our weaknesses, and in silence and in the prayer of our hearts, we turn to him and we listen to him. Because he will speak to us. He will speak to us in our hearts if in our silence and our truth and our sincerity and our weakness and our doubt, we turn to him and ask him to speak. Speak. If you are there, speak to me. If you are there, tell me the truth. Because he has said, ask and you will receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. And in another place he has said, I stand at your door and knock. If you hear my voice, if you listen, then I will, and you open your door, I will come in and we will dine together. And then you will know that there is a Supreme Being, that there is a God who is merciful and kind, loving and forgiving.